Well, I went to Malaysia while I was in school, but I went to Indonesia a couple of years ago to speak on a lecture series with other queer Muslims who were there, and found that women's scholarship there for the last 50 years, they've been doing women legal scholarship and interpretation of Quran for the last 50 years. Mama Wudu, when you wrote her book, Woman Quran, actually was there to get her research there. So it shows you how open it is, where a woman barely can go to school in Saudi Arabia in terms of higher education. It's very limited, but getting more broad. So I won't say it's not impossible, but things are opening up more. And so because of this process, I think that there are a lot of people who are now coming out, if you will, and I use that term loosely, but now they're acknowledging that there are variances and differences, to the point that with Faisal Alam, I don't know if you know who he is, but Faisal Alam, 10 years ago, sent out an email to all the MSAs and Muslim Student Associations in the country, and says, I'm queer or I'm gay, and I went on, and within minutes he received several emails from us saying, yes, I am too. That was the one. I was living in Saudi Arabia, studying and teaching there. In Saudi Arabia, when that happened, and a friend of mine here said, did you hear about our fact? I said, no. He gave me the email. I contacted Faisal. I had just come back from the States for my final part of my contract, so I couldn't get out to come for the meeting. But after I left, my contract ended, I met with Faisal and joined with him because I had just released my first thesis I had done on homosexuality in Islam. And since that time, I've done some things on why it's important to have homosexual marriage, and also the caricatures that is part of the framework of understanding queerness in Islam, and how these caricatures are supported by literature as well as the common cultural understanding, and we have to fight against those to try to understand who these are as people. Did that respond to you good? Okay, yes. Were there any other hands up before? Okay, let me now come back to you. Yes.
Just something that I heard on the news. Ahmadinejad, the leader of Iran.
Yes.
And he says we don't have queer people in Iran. Now, was he just telling a bold-faced lie?
No, he was not telling a lie. Because of the rejection and the possibility of physical harm, many queer people there are not public. So in public, you don't have it. But evening times, there are parties, there are social events, there are clubs that people go to all the time. So in the public framework, he could say that and be truthful. But in the culture and within the undercurrent that is there, and it's like a subculture, it does exist. And he knows it does exist, but he's doing the party line. It's like George Bush saying, well, there are such and such here. Or Obama saying we have lots of hope coming. Big difference in how it is, but that's really what he was saying. So I tell people that yes, he was right from a political position. Yes, we don't have gay people because we don't allow it publicly, but in actuality, gay people live there or exist there all the time and have been forever. If you go back to other historical factors and things, you'll find old pictures and things from the Iranian Empire, Persian Empire, where they show men having sex and women having sex. So it existed long before he came on the scene, and therefore it's going to continue long after he leaves the scene. Okay. Well, I'll get you. Let's see. I got you. There was someone else. I think it was you, right? Okay. Let me get you, and then I'll come around. Okay.
In your answer to your first question, you mentioned colonialism.
Yeah.
And I just want to be sure I understood what your answer was. Did you say that the current rigidity of Wahhabism and others is a reaction to colonialism and a defense against the culture, or was it the religion being overtaken by other ideas, other...
Well, part of it is there's two different parts that make up this colonial aspect. The first one came during the Crusades, back 1,000 years ago. And during that time, there was the Pope said that the Muslims were antichrist and things of this nature. But in actuality, Muslims do recognize Isa or Jesus, but we don't put him in the same sense as being the Father of God. So that's the difference in that. Because of that, that was a political stance. And for 1,000 years, when there were several periods in which the Christians came into the Muslim area, particularly to take back Jerusalem. And so through that project, it was an ongoing war. Every so often, every couple 100 years, 150 years, something would spark off to do this. But yet, in Jerusalem, you had Jews, Christians, and Muslims living together with no problem. So that was the thing. So the colonial idea came in because, just like the Chinese did, the Middle East also did the same thing. When the colonialists started coming out with, they had been looking for the spice routes and things of this nature, they started closing themselves off. Okay, and so it's a continuation or an extension of that blocking them out because these people don't have any common sense, these people don't do this, they're different.